Hi, my name is Mike Brotherton and welcome to my allotment in East Sussex. How are you getting on with this self-isolating? Are you doing it? I've just been watching Sean Cameron's video. He was getting quite depressed about it. And to be honest, he's got a lot of good reason. I went down to Tesco's and I was disgusted at what I saw. I was expecting them to be open for the over 70s for an hour, and there was lots of people over 70 in there with a single basket. But earlier in the morning, from 6 till 7, these 30 to 50-year-olds had been down and stripped the shelves, and they were there queuing at the counter, 2 trolleys, some of them, full. And what's this risk of it with toilet rolls? If you get coronavirus, do you have to go to the toilet more often? It's absolute madness. Wednesday, on the next day, I went for a walk on the beach and it was lovely and people were keeping the distance, and I parked the car and I went to Morrison's, and that was totally different. It was well organised. I'm not saying the shelves were full. There was stuff there and you could buy it. So at least there was some common sense. So what have I been doing this week? Well, one of the things I've been doing, like last week, I'm preparing to get the sowings done, and I need to get the potatoes in before Good Friday. I'm emptying the pots, but 1 or 2 of the pots, have got volunteers growing. So I've emptied one carefully and they're quite usable. So the others I'm going to leave. So that therefore gives me an earlier start with the potatoes. And then I've moved them about the bed. So I've moved all the ones with the volunteers in down to the north end of the bed. I'm starting now to systematically empty last year's compost and reinvigorate it with some fertiliser. All last year's compost has now been emptied out of the pots and deposited onto a selected bed. This year I've selected bed 1 as the raised bed that's going to take the invigorated compost so that it's ready for planting out. Before I can move this compost from bed 8 down to bed 1, I've got to repair that hole in the wheelbarrow. And for this, I found a small metal or tin plate sign, which I drilled and with self-tapping screws fixed into the base of the wheelbarrow. For this year's potatoes, I've purchased, as last year and the years before, the cheap compost from the garden centre. And of course, with everything that goes onto this site, it's got to be wheeled down that long path from the car park to the plot. Nothing I can do about it, but just get on with it. The horse manure, you'll remember, and I used some longevity bags, what do they call them, bags for a year or something. Last year I purchased these bags, which are a lot more satisfactory than the bags I've been using, which are the plastic compost bags. It's hard to fill the compost bags when they're empty. They flop over and you really need somebody else to hold them while you put the material in. And I find that two of these bags equals one compost bag, and I can easily carry them. I can put them in the car and stack them in the car, and I can barrow them a lot easier using the set of wheels I've got rather than the barrow. I was asked by a subscriber if I could remember where I purchased them from. Well, what I've found is that they are very useful. It's a lot better than using the 50 litre plastic bags. Look, much more convenient. So I decided to purchase another 5, and these arrived in the post this week.
The same ones.
The other thing that arrived in the post this week was these heat-treated onions I'd ordered from Marshall's. And if you remember, I won prizes with these at the village show, garden and vegetable show. And I've got 75 sets here. I won't need all that many. But I can get these put up, and some have even already started to sprout. I can show you. There we are. Started to sprout. There's another one. That's a bit bigger. Yeah, so they started to sprout. Okay. Progress on the seedlings are doing quite well. The oldie seeds which I sowed last week are now coming through, all of them showing barring the beetroot. I don't know why that is. That's the state of play with the seedlings. The onion seedlings have done well. They really should be potted on now. Only problem is I've got a major problem that's occurred, and that's going to take up more time, but we'll see how we go with that. The problem is on Friday when I went to the plot, a hole had appeared on the south side of the pylon, and you may remember that 3 or 4 years ago this occurred on the north side of the pylon, and the electric board had to dig the cables and uncover them because a fault had appeared in the cable. It looks like this has occurred now on the south side. It's Friday, there's nobody about, so I'm assuming that on Monday morning someone will contact me, because we can't, we're social distancing, so I need to speak to him on the telephone, so I'm assuming that somehow some contact will be made, and that's affecting the production of this aero. The largest task I've done this week, which I've said to the end but has been going on for some time, is the raising of a bed. This I have to do over a period by putting on the compost. The level of the bed starts to rise. This has occurred on bed 4. I've shown this many times before, raising the bed. It's self-explanatory, so we'll just get forward and you can watch how it goes in there. There'll be just the odd notation to explain things, but generally speaking, it's self-explanatory. As I've said previously, it's apparent that there's a fault on the pylon, and I was contacted this morning and I have spoken to them. The problem is that the electric board don't really know where the cables are running. They do have record drawings, but I do know from personal experience that cables do move, but not all that. The cable should be actually running, turning round and running towards the north, but it looks as though it's going to go underneath my compost bin and fence. Well, it's brought me to the end of this episode. This is basically 2 weeks. You've got week 3 of March and week 4 of March, but the two have run into each other, but I've still got to separate them because the upload will be far too long. So I'm going to take this opportunity now to say, so I'm going to wind up the video. Basically what I've got to tell you is that I can't self-isolate on the plot because I've been banned from it. Not because of the coronavirus, but because of the Health and Safety Works Act. My plot is now a working site, so it comes under the Factories Act. So I'm going off to isolate. I'm not isolating for coronavirus. I'm isolating because you don't want to see a grown man cry. And I'm going in there to sulk. I've got my paper. It's got a crossword. I've got a pen. I've got a book to read. So I'll bid you goodbye. Take care. Look after yourself, and hopefully the next time we meet it'll be better circumstances. So okay, bye. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not already done so, please subscribe and ring that bell.